Hello everyone, welcome to the walkthrough video for the income expense savings tracker. If you haven't purchased this template, I will leave a link in the description box so you can go ahead and grab your copy. I'm going to get started with showing you what the template looks like when you buy it, and then we'll jump into the demo copy so I can show you how it works. When you purchase this template, the first tab is an instructions tab, and here you'll find my contact information as well as a step-by-step guide that will help you get started with using this template. The next tab is the setup tab. It will come with these placeholders, which of course you can delete. Next, we have a couple of dashboards. Everything will be blank until you start adding in information. So you'll see the monthly summary, the annual summary, and the multi-year summary would appear blank like this. And then we move into the yearly update area. So each tab would have a year. So we have 2024 all the way to 2023. And as you can see, they're all blank. Okay. So this is what it's going to look like when you purchase the template. Now I'll switch over to the demo copy so I can show you what it looks like when you start putting in information and to show you how it fully works. So here we are in the demo copy of this template in the setup tab. The first area is where you would put in some goals. So we have 2024 to 2033. This years can be changed. So if you want to maybe start tracking from a year prior up to a year in the future, or you want to start tracking from 2025 to 2035, it doesn't really matter. All you need to do is delete these years and type in the years you want to type in. So if you want to start 2025, just delete 2024. These are hyperlinked, but it doesn't matter because you could always hyperlink them again if you want to. But let's just say we delete all of them. Now you type into new years, so 2025, 2026, etc. And then you can just select both of them, drag it down, and then we have the years from 2025 to 2034. Now, that is not all. We do then have to match the names of the tabs with the names here so that the template works. So after you've changed this, you then want to go ahead and then rename these tabs, okay, to make sure that it matches the names here. And what you will notice is that when you click on this tab, so let's click on 2024, you can already see that it now coincides with the first year we entered in the setup tab, 2025. That way, then all you need to do is just change this to 2025. So if I try to change it to 2025, it wouldn't let me because it says the name already exists. So just rename this whatever so that you can go ahead and rename them the correct years without having that problem. So I'll go ahead and rename this 2025. And then when I click here, you see it says 2026. I can go ahead and rename this 2026, 2027, and so on. So you can do it that way, or you can go in the past. So let's say you want to start tracking your data from maybe a previous template or previous tracking system you're using from 2020. Okay, so when we change this to 2020, when we go back here, you can see now this is 2020, and then you can rename this year 2020. The key is just to make sure that once you change it here, go to the individual tab and change the name of the tab to match the year that you have put in this place. Moving on, the next part of this template is where you enter your savings goals and your expense goals. So what you want to save for the entire year and what you expect to spend for the entire year. And then this information will be used to create some more data, comparing it to your actual savings and your actual expenses as you track the data for the year. The next part of this setup area, we have our income categories and subcategories, our expense categories and subcategories, and our savings categories and subcategories. You have 5 categories for each and 10 subcategories. Okay, so the same applies to expenses and then savings. You can delete these, okay? Just rename them whatever you want. Just make sure you keep the income in this area, okay? The expense in this area and the savings right here. The next few tabs are dashboard tabs, and these would make more sense after we go over the tabs where you enter the data, because these tabs are read-only. You're not going to be editing or entering any data in these tabs. So moving on to 2024, the first one. Okay, so we have the year 2024, and see the savings goals shows up here. So when we go back to the setup tab really quickly, you can see for 2024, the savings goal is $20,000. Let's say I want to change this to $19,500. By the way, this template is made in dollars, but there are several other currencies that you can use with it that are available. And if you cannot find your currency, just let me know. I'll be happy to create a specific template with your own currency and send it to you. So don't worry about that. I'm happy to do so. Okay, so when we go back to 2024, you can see that the goal now is 19,500. So whatever you enter in the setup tab is what shows up here. And of course, you can always change it. So you're not going to be editing anything in this area. I'll show you where you'll be entering data. But before that, let me give you an overview of what the template looks like. Here we have a dashboard area, and this is going to show you things like your total income, total expenses, total savings, average monthly income, average monthly expense, and average monthly savings. Okay. And this template will repeat itself for the entire year. So when I show you this, the same information is going to apply for all of the tabs throughout the rest of the template for the yearly tabs. As you start entering information month by month, is going to compare your actual savings to your yearly goal. For this year, our goal savings is 19,500 and we have entered savings of 19,165. So we are at about 98% of our goal saving. The next area here is a summary, and you're also not going to put any data here. It all pulls in automatically from the tables below. Okay, so this shows you your summary for each year and the sum for the entire year, which is of course also displayed here. You would also see that it will highlight the current month. So I am filming this demo in December, so the current month is December, and as you can see, it shows you the summary for December automatically. It updates and adapts automatically to the current date that you are in. The side panel of the template is where we have some more summary data. Okay, so we have summary data for income, for category, subcategory, summary data for expenses, category, subcategory, and summary data for savings, category and subcategory. And again, this part of the template, you will not be entering data. This will automatically be calculated for you. So let's get to the part that we are actually going to be entering data. Let's switch over to a blank one. Here we are in a blank year. We'll start with putting in information for January. Okay, so for the income for January, now we'll select our income. So let's say full-time job. By the way, if this list is really long, it's not a problem. All you need to do is just click in that space and type in what you're looking for. Type in the name of the subcategory. So let's say full-time job is what we're looking for. Once we type F, it narrows down that list. So it doesn't matter how long that list is. All you need to do is type in a few letters and it pulls up the word you're looking for. So full-time job. And as you can see, you don't have to type the category. It pulls that up automatically. If this category is wrong, don't try to change it here. Go back to the setup tab. Okay, and change the category name up here. All right, so let's say for January, we earned $2,000 for our full-time job. So you type 2,000, okay? And as you can see, the table starts filling in automatically. Let's put in one more. Let's say we have a part-time job and that's giving us $500. And let's say we have freelance work we do, and that is $100, okay? So that's it. It's as simple as that. When the next month rolls around, all we're doing is editing these individual parts. We don't have to do anything else, which makes using this structure of template a lot easier and a lot quicker. Let's go down to expenses and put a few of them in. So let's say we're going to do rent. Let's say $850 for rent, and groceries, let's say $200, and let's do dining out, $300. Okay. Now let's say February rolls around. It's the same amount for all of them. Obviously, some of them would change. Just go ahead and copy. You can right click to copy or use your shortcut keys on your keyboard. And now the key is pasting without formatting. So you want to right click and make sure you click on values only. That way you can save even more time if you have to transfer information that is exactly the same from month to month. And even if it's not the same, you can make small changes. So maybe this would be 320 instead of 300. Let's put in a few for savings. Now, when we go all the way up here, you can see everything has been updated. So you can see we have our total income, expense, savings, monthly average, income, monthly expense average, and average savings. And then if we scroll all the way down here, we can then see that it gives us a summary of the categories and subcategories, and it shows you the percent. So you can see that 96.2% of our income comes from salary in this example, and 3.8% comes from our business income. And for the subcategory, it breaks it down by amount and percent as well. And it does the same for the expenses and the same for savings. So without even leaving this table, you have a summary of where your income is coming from and where it's going as far as expenses and how much you are saving. Now let's move on to the fun part, which are of course the dashboards. This template comes with a monthly summary, annual summary, and a multi-year summary. And let's take a look at what that looks like. We're in the monthly summary tab. You can view any month and any year's information as long as you have entered it into the tabs. So here we have January 2024. So we do have a 2024 tab. So that is selected and we have information entered for January. We can change this to February, March, And as you can see, everything's going to update dynamically. Any year and any month combination that has information in will show up in this tab. So let's change it to 2033, which is what we just entered. And you can see May is completely blank because we don't have any information, but we did enter information for January. So let's change it to January. And as you can see, we have some information here showing up. We have our income, expense, savings. Okay, we have table form and we have the graphs that represents the table. We have our summary right here. Okay, and we'll scroll all the way down here. You can see our savings goal. This is from the setup tab, and our yearly expense goal. And then these graphs show us how we're doing. There are lots of graphs, but if you focus on one graph at a time, you can review the information you need for that specific graph or table. So here we have our income distribution. It shows you top 20. So it doesn't show you every single one. It shows you the top 20 income sources, the amount and the percentages for that month. And then on the other end, we have savings and expenses, also showing you the top 20. And then the graphs in the middle show you the summaries for income and expense savings subcategories. So here we have categories and here we have subcategories. So you can see every single aspect of your income, your expenses, and your savings. For the annual summary, it gives you similar information summarized, but now we're looking at everything for the entire year. And then we're looking at the trend from January through December. So for this tab, you will go ahead and also change the year if you need to. So this is 2024's information. I can change this to 2033, which is the one we just entered. And as you can see, we have very limited information. We have one data point here and two data points here because we did enter expenses twice, one monthly income, monthly savings. So it will adapt dynamically to the year that you put in. Let's switch over to a year that has more information. So 2024, you can see the goal savings. It has the breakdown, all of your income, the amounts and the percentages, and you can see it goes from the highest to the lowest. So it's easy for you to review. The same for the expense categories and the savings categories. Then you have the trends for income, expense, and savings from January through December. So you can see how you've done overall. And then scrolling to the end, we have the breakdown based on subcategory for income, expense, and savings. Okay. And that is it for the annual summary. And the last is the multi-year summary. Similar information, but now we're actually comparing our trends over several years. Here you can see all the income you've earned for 10 years, all your expenses, all your savings rates, and your average annual savings. Okay. And this gives you your top income source per year. Okay. It makes sense. Full-time job is the highest one, right? The next is your top expense over time. In this example, we have rent, and it shows you total amount that you have spent for rent for whatever you enter in this template. So you can essentially see your 10-year journey of how much you're spending for rent, and the top savings over time. And then the graph here shows you over time income, expense, savings. Okay, we're starting from 2024 all the way to 2033. And then here shows you your goal versus actual savings over time. So here's the goal, and here the bar graphs are the actual savings. And when the bars cross the line, it means we exceeded. When the bars are below the line, means we are below our goal. And then here you can see income over 10 years and the average, expense over time, and savings over time. And then finally, all the way here, we have some more information. You can see the year you earned the highest income and the amount. So in 2031, we had our highest income, which is $121,000, highest expense here, and highest savings here. Okay, just more information to help you make better decisions with your finances. And here you can see the breakdown of your income, expense, and savings subcategory cumulatively for all of the data entered for all of the years in this template. All right, and one last thing before I wrap up this tutorial is that you can change the colors if you want. So if you don't like this color and you want to change it to something else that is already built into Google Sheets or a color palette that you like, you can do so very easily. The way to do this would be to go all the way to the top, see this that says fill color, click on that. And what you want to do is click on this pencil icon. And then as you can see, these colors are the ones that have been used to create this entire template. So click on done, and you can see that Google Sheets has built-in colors already. So you can choose any of these built-in template colors. So let's go with shift, for example. You can see changes, or to momentum or earthy. They already have some palettes that actually work really well. Okay, so you can change it to whatever you want. Or you can go ahead and click on customize to go back to the page with the colors, and then you can change the colors individually. So if you have a palette that you already like, go ahead and change it. If you choose, for example, to change this color, try to replace it with a darker color. If you don't, then you'll have to change the color of the font from white to black. So what do I mean by that? So this color is dark and this color is dark. And as you can see, this color is used right here. If I do decide to change this color to, let's say, something here, this color right here, that's fine. But when I go here, you can see that it doesn't quite work anymore. It changes the color everywhere we had that original color, but then it doesn't work with the white text. So you have to go and change the text to a darker color to make sure that it still works. So just keep that in mind. Use a dark color to replace the dark colors and use a lighter color to replace the lighter colors, or replace them however way you please, and then go around and change the text from black to white or white to black around the template so it still remains legible. All right, that brings me to the end of this demo. Like I said before, if you haven't purchased this template, I'll leave links in the description box so you can go ahead and grab your copy. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments section below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.